What's the weather like in Saudi Daisy?
It's 34 degrees and clear at Saudi Daisy.
Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Generation Z, and I am your host, Russell. I just asked Google what the weather's like. It is presently, if I can get to Orient right, 34 degrees in Saudi Daisy, which is not the temperatures we would be wanting. Ugh. It's actually, yesterday I was testing out this little app, and it's called Google Now, and it lets you, talk into your phone, and you can get it to do things with that. It's actually kind of cool because I can get it to compose emails and all that sort of thing. It's actually really neat. But I'm having a problem. It will not recognize my boss's name. It just won't recognize his name. I've tried 100 different times to get his name in there, and it will not recognize his name. So that's a bit of a problem. I even tried changing it so it was like Frank, and it still wouldn't recognize it. It's like, who is Frank? It's ridiculous. See if I can demonstrate for you, actually. Let's see. Try this out. Call Sabatino.
Say the name of the contact you want to call or say cancel.
Sabatino.
Here is Sabatino's.
See, and it gives me a restaurant. That's not what I want. But watch this. It'll call anybody else. Check this out. Call Cameron.
Calling Cameron Rogers, mobile.
See? That works just fine. But if I do anybody else, it won't work. I mean, she'll work, but I can't call Sab. Nope. That's not happening. I don't know what the deal is, man, but it's not cool. Ugh. Whatever, man. It's annoying, is what it is. Google, you have failed me. But I can actually compose emails and everything. It's actually really neat. If I have someone in my contacts and I have their email in there, then I can compose an email that way. In fact, I can even text people with my voice. It's actually really cool. I can even make Skype calls and everything. It's it's pretty amazing, actually, this technology. I knew it existed, but I didn't think that Google had an equivalent to Siri, and I'm actually really happy about it. It's actually really cool. Who'd have thought, right? Well, we got a lot to talk about today. It doesn't involve smartphones, although a lot of it does. We have Senator Manchin, I think is how you say his name, Manchin, demanding complete U.S. ban on Bitcoin, according to CNET. Senator Manchin is mad about Bitcoin. So mad he wants to see it eradicated. Bah, what does he know? And of course there's ELOP, which has been handed the keys to the Xbox division at Microsoft. That's Stephen, I guess, ELOP, who used to be the head of Nokia. And cold-tolerant oil-producing sugarcane could be one sweet source of biofuel, according to Gizmag. Those are two stories we have coming up as well. So, a source of biofuel. But the problem with biofuels, you'll notice, is that a lot of them require you to switch over from your regular gas-powered car to a different sort of car. And, I don't really like the idea of that. I like my car. I just got it. Why would I want to switch over to something different? You know what I mean? So, that's not so good. But, this sugarcane fuel is kind of okay. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about quite a few other things too. But first, let's get to the Bitcoin thing. Senator Manchin demands complete U.S. ban on Bitcoin, according to CNET. A U.S. senator is asking the federal government to take this remarkable step to completely ban Bitcoin. Joe Manchin, a Democratic senator, oh, that's a surprise, representing West Virginia, sent a letter Wednesday to the Treasury Department, the Federal Reserve, and other regulators characterizing the federal currency as encouraging illicit activity, as well as being highly unstable and disruptive to our economy. So? So? It's highly unstable and disruptive to our economy. Big deal. Hey man, anything that makes the economy tank, I'm all for. You know? We need to rebuild. So one of the steps in rebuilding is taking down the existing things, so I'm all for that. But also, it doesn't encourage illicit activity any more than regular currency does. I mean, think about that. encourages illicit activity. What's he talking about? That's like saying, yeah, having more than $100 encourages illicit activity. Not really. You can buy illegal things with regular money, and you can buy illegal things with Bitcoin, but you don't have to. There's a lot of legal things you can buy with Bitcoin. You can buy cupcakes, for heaven's sake, with Bitcoin. I mean, come on. What's this guy talking about? He doesn't know what he's talking about, I think. Senator Manchin, come on, dude. Get with the times, man. We're tired of our currency, man. Our currency, US dollars, is crap. There's no use for it. It doesn't work. It's worth basically nothing. It's backed by a ridiculously outdated system. Why not use Bitcoin? But no, it's disruptive to the economy. Ooh, can't have that. Manchin's a member of the Senate Banking Committee. Oh, well then. That's interesting. He suggested in the letter, titled Manchin Demands Federal Regulators Ban Bitcoin. That's the name of his letter. How stuck up do you have to be to have your own name in your own letter? I mean, come on. It's like if I sent a letter to Mr. Toulis, right? David Toulis of Nuganomics. And it was titled, Russell suggests we make some changes at the station. Like, who would do that? Like, just because you're a senator doesn't mean your name's worth anything, really. I don't care who you are. Jeez, man. Manchin demands federal regulators ban Bitcoin. That a complete prohibition was appropriate because Thailand, China, and South Korea have already enacted severe restrictions or bans of their own. So he's saying we should be more like China? Senator, surely you don't mean that. It's unlikely that the Federal Reserve and the executive branch possesses statutory authority to prohibit Bitcoin without a new law enacted by Congress and signed by the President, making Manchin's letter something of a publicity stunt. On the other hand, regulators likely do have the authority to levy more rules and restrictions on Bitcoin-related companies that would increase costs, decrease interest among investors, and at the margin, put some startups out of business. Yeah, that's right. Bitcoin-related companies will go out of business. You know what happens when companies go out of business? We lose money, because they do have to spend real money at some point. I wonder how old Joe Manchin is. Let's see, I can ask Google. I have a query for you. Mirror, mirror on the wall. How old is Senator Joe Manchin?
According to ed.m.wikipedia.org, Joseph Joe Manchin III is the junior United States Senator from West Virginia. Manchin, a member of the Democratic Party, previously served as the governor of West Virginia from 2005 to 2010 and the Secretary of State of West Virginia from 2001 to 2005.
So he's not actually that old. August 24th, 1947. He's not that old. Thanks, Google. Isn't Google great? Thanks, man. But, you know, Joe Manchin's not that old. He should know better. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can sort of expect if you're like 80 or 90 to sort of be a little bit behind the times. You know, he's not all with it because he's not a young spring chicken anymore. But born in 1947, that's not that old at all. You'd think you could get some things like this, you know? I mean, you're not old. Much. He's like, what, 60-something, 63 or so? That's not that old at all. Well, on the other hand, regulators likely do have the authority to levy more rules, yeah, which would close businesses. Now, this guy seems like he's more playing into the hands of the banks than playing into the hands of the people who elected him. Is anyone really surprised? If you ask anybody on the street what they think of Bitcoin, do they think Bitcoin should be banned? They're probably going to say, no, of course Bitcoin shouldn't be banned. Manchin and fellow Democrat Senator Charles Schumer of New York, we've heard of Schumer before, have targeted Bitcoin-related enterprises before. In a June 2011 letter to the Justice Department and DEA, the senators demanded a crackdown on the online marketplace Silk Road, saying the only method of payment for these illegal purchases is an untraceable peer-to-peer currency known as Bitcoins. Well, that's all well and good, but Bitcoins are not illegal. Silk Road was. Silk Road was a way of buying drugs, and that's not so good. Okay, it's illegal. But you can buy drugs with regular money, don't forget. I mean, drugs are expensive, yeah, but you can buy them with regular money. I could go out there right now. There's probably some drug dealers in Saudi Daisy. I don't know, but maybe there are. I could go out there and say, hey, you got any stuff for me? Hand him a 20. He goes, yeah, here you go, man. And he gives me, like, whatever. It's not that hard. I mean, geez. In fact, sometimes they give you a free sample. Those are the best. But, Bitcoin is not the exclusive currency for narcotics purchasing. It's not like I could go to a drug dealer and say, hey, do you take U.S. currency? He goes, no, I'm sorry, I only take Bitcoin. You can only buy my cocaine with Bitcoin. It's like, what a shame. I was going to buy all the cocaine, but since you only take Bitcoin, I'll take my business elsewhere. I mean, that's not going to happen. Last fall, the FBI indicted a San Francisco man for allegedly operating Silk Road, and additional charges were levied this month. The writer of the article for CNET asked Manchin's press office to elaborate on what existing federal laws could be used to ban or outlaw Bitcoin, or whether new laws would be needed. And the writer of the article will update the story if they respond over at CNET. Here's the text of that letter, though, the title of which is Manchin Demands Federal Regulators Ban Bitcoin. Here's the text of that letter. It's a funny letter. It really is, and it's long, but we're gonna soldier through it as long as I can stand it anyway. Dear Secretary Liu, Chairwoman Yellen, that's Chairwoman Yellen, I can only assume that's Janet Yellen of the Federal Reserve, Commissioner Curry, Acting Chairman Wetjen, Chairman Grunberg, and Chairwoman White. I write today to express my concerns about Bitcoin. I want a t-shirt of that. I want a t-shirt that says, I write today to express my concerns about Bitcoin. This virtual currency is currently unregulated and has allowed users to participate in illicit activity, while also being highly unstable and disruptive to our economy. For the reasons outlined below, I urge regulators to take appropriate action to limit the abilities of this highly unstable currency. By the way, background, Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, very good, Joe, you got it, that has gained notoriety in recent months due to its rising exchange value in relation to illegal transactions. That is not why it's risen in popularity. Yeah, you can use it in illegal transactions, sure. Just like you can use regular money in illegal transactions. You're going to ban the US dollar because I can buy drugs or launder it. Each Bitcoin is defined by a public address and a private key. Thus, Bitcoin is not only a token of value, but also a method for transferring that value. It also means that Bitcoin provides a unique digital fingerprint, which allows for anonymous and irreversible transactions. Why is that a bad thing? Why is it a bad thing that you can have anonymous and irreversible transactions? If you get caught doing a crime, you should probably go to prison. But if you get caught spending money, that's not a crime, is it? The very features that make Bitcoin attractive to some also attract criminals who are able to disguise their actions from law enforcement. Yeah, but I'm not a criminal, am I? No, I don't think so. Pretty sure I'm not a criminal. But I'm pretty attracted to Bitcoin, not gonna lie. Due to Bitcoin's anonymity, the virtual market has been extremely susceptible to hackers and scam artists stealing millions from Bitcoin users. So now he's looking after Bitcoin users, even though he's demonizing them. Anonymity combined with Bitcoin's ability to finalize transactions quickly makes it very difficult, if not impossible, to reverse fraudulent transactions. So, Bitcoin has also become a haven for individuals to buy black market items. Individuals are able to anonymously purchase items such as drugs and weapons illegally. Ooh. I have already written to regulators once on the now closed Silk Road, which operated for years in supplying drugs and other black market items to criminals, thanks in large part to the creation of Bitcoin. But you can still buy drugs with regular money. I don't see why that makes a difference. That he's using a different currency. They're afraid of this currency. I'll tell you why they're afraid of this currency. Because it undermines the central banking system. It undermines it because you don't have to use their system. You don't have to play into their hand. The bankers, the banksters. You don't have to play into their hand. I don't want to play into their hand. I don't like Granny Yellen. I don't like what's his name, Greenspan, or what was the other guy who was the chair of the Federal Reserve? I don't even remember. Ben Bernanke, there we go. I don't like those guys. I don't want to play into their hands. I don't like senators. I don't want to play into their hands. I don't like the banks. I don't like Wells Fargo. I don't like SunTrust. I don't like Bank of America. I don't want to play into their hands. So, Bitcoin looks pretty good to me right about now. But here comes a senator who's writing to the Federal Reserve saying that this needs to be regulated. That is why more than a handful of countries and their banking systems have cautioned against the use of Bitcoin. Indeed, it has been banned in 2 different countries. Thailand and China and South Korea stated that it will not recognize Bitcoin as a legitimate currency. Several other countries, including the European Union, have issued warnings to Bitcoin users as their respective governments consider options for regulating or banning its use entirely. While it is disappointing that the world leader and epicenter of the banking industry will only follow suit instead of making policy, it's high time that the United States heed our allies' warnings. I am most concerned that as Bitcoin is inevitably banned in other countries, Americans will be left holding the bag on a valueless currency. Except it's not valueless. Let's see, how much is Bitcoin worth? Let's ask our good buddy Google. Come on, wake up, Google. How much is Bitcoin worth? Let's see, the present cost of Bitcoin. Let's look at the charts. Got to bring up the web page. But see, this guy's argument is that it's going to be a valueless currency, implying that US dollars are not already. And on, let's see, on Mt. Gox, the average price is $135, but Mt. Gox collapsed. So on Bitstamp, it is $587.53 for a Bitcoin. That does not sound valueless to me. I don't know about you, but that does not sound valueless to me. Our foreign counterparts have already understood the wide range of problems, even with Bitcoin's legitimate uses, from its significant price fluctuations to its deflationary nature. Just last week, Bitcoin prices plunged after the currency's major exchange, Mt. Gox, experienced technical issues. Just 2 days ago, this exchange took its website down and is no longer even accessible. This was not a unique event. News of plummeting or skyrocketing Bitcoin prices is almost a weekly occurrence. In addition, its deflationary trends ensure that only speculators, such as so-called Bitcoin miners, will benefit from possessing the virtual currency. There is no doubt average American consumers stand to lose by transacting in Bitcoin. As of December 2013, the Consumer Price Index shows 1.3% inflation, while a recent media report indicated that Bitcoin CPI has a 98% deflation. In other words, spending Bitcoin now will cost you many other orders of wealth in the future. This flaw makes Bitcoin's value to the U.S. economy suspect, if not outright detrimental. So he's trying to protect the economy, but he's doing it in a very poor way. If you really wanted to protect the economy, there's a lot of other things you can do besides messing with Bitcoin, right? I mean, think about all the spending and all the different things that they do with our money, our tax dollars. That's kind of the problem, not Bitcoin. And we didn't ban the US dollar after we had the Great Depression. You know, we didn't ban the use of stocks or anything like that. There is widespread concern about the Bitcoin system's possible impact on national currencies, its potential for criminal misuse, and the implications for its use for taxation. Before the U.S. gets too far behind the curve on this important topic, I urge the regulators to work together, act quickly, and prohibit this dangerous currency from harming hard-working Americans. Sincerely, U.S. Senator Joe Manchin III. Well, that's all well and good, Senator Joe Manchin, but you're wrong. You see, they're banning Bitcoin not because because they're afraid it'll collapse their economies, but why not just have a country, this is a cool idea, why not have some island out there that bases its economy on Bitcoin, and we'll see how well it does. You know, like one of the U.S. Virgin Islands or something like that, or Guam. Have Guam, which is U.S. territory, we own Guam. Why don't we do a little experiment and have Guam move over to Bitcoin and see how well they do? I think that'd be interesting if the whole island nation of Guam used Bitcoin instead of US dollars, just to see what would happen. I think that'd be kind of a cool idea. Why not, right? You know, I'd like to set up some micronation where our currency is Bitcoin and everything is spent in Bitcoin, and I think things would end up pretty well, assuming that the feds don't tamper with it. That's a majority of what's causing problems with Bitcoin, is the feds tampering with it, and that's kind of the problem. If they were doing this to a country's national currency, that would be war. But they're doing it to this little online currency, so it's okay. You know? I mean, geez, people. Undeterred by the failing Nook, though, Barnes & Noble will launch the new model this year, according to Ars Technica. And I want to get off the topic of Bitcoin for now, because I'm sure we'll get back to it today. But, yeah, let's move on to a different story very quickly. Undeterred by the failing Nook, Barnes & Noble will launch a new model this year, according to Ars Technica. That's novel idea for Barnes & Noble. The Nook is supposed to compete with Amazon's Kindle. Don't forget, Amazon used to be a bookstore exclusively, so they know how to handle books. Despite the fact that the Nook sales plummeted by 66% during the 2013 holiday season, struggling book retailer Barnes & Noble isn't giving up on its e-reader. In fact, the company will be putting more effort into its e-reader in the near future in its latest quarterly earnings report. Company CEO Michael P. Huseby announced Barnes & Noble will unveil a new Nook device in the coming months. We remain committed to delivering world-class reading experiences to our customers through our reading-centric e-ink and color reading devices, CEO Michael P. Huseby wrote in a statement on Wednesday. The company is actively engaged in discussions with several world-class hardware partners related to device development as well as content packaging, and distribution. As a result, we plan to launch a new Nook color device in the early fiscal 2015. Well, I wonder what operating system they'll be running on the Nook. That's my question. What OS will they run? That's I think that's a pretty good question. What will they be running on this new Nook? Amazon uses Android. There we go. I have it on my phone right in front of me. Amazon's running Android. So will Nook be running Android as well, or will there be some sort of hiccup that they'll run into? Barnes & Noble's fiscal calendar annually begins in April. The company was profitable this past quarter of the third quarter, ending in January 2014, largely due to lowered spending on the Nook and job cuts. At the time, the firm announced that it has made a net profit of $63 million. However, so far in the first 39 weeks of the 2014 fiscal year, which will end in March, the company remains $10.5 million in the red. Still, that's far better than where Barnes & Noble was a year ago, when it sustained losses of over $43 million after the end of the third fiscal quarter of 2013. So, Barnes & Noble needs to make a lot of money. $10.5 million is a lot of money to make. And a lot of companies don't even make $10.5 million during their entire tenure. This is a very large company, Barnes & Noble. So, somehow they need to make those profits back. They need to do something revolutionary. But what? What is it Barnes & Noble needs to do? Well, I don't think spending a bunch of money for research and development and for releasing a Nook, unless they know it's going to be successful, I don't think that's a good idea. What I would shoot for, honestly, would be a ebook app of some sort, or maybe promotions or purchasing of ebooks actually in their stores, where you can go to Barnes & Noble and they'll ask you if you want an ebook instead of a regular book, or something like that, something to make money, so they can keep their stock up. Not stock as in like stock exchange, but stock as in actual physical items in their store. They can keep that up while releasing ebooks. That would be what I would shoot for, but what do I know about finances? That just seems to be the right thing to do to me. But I don't know. I'm not a finances guy. I'm not good with money. I'm good with keeping money in my wallet sometimes. But when it comes to be the financier for a large corporation, I'm not exactly qualified. But that's just what I would do. It seems like if you're in the red, spending money on research and development for a brand new hardware device, not the best idea.
Rebates on a 2014 Camry. This is unheard of. 0% financing and a $1,000 rebate on a new 2014 Camry. You have to get the Camry Toyota Huntley Highway.
This phone's actually really cool. I just got it like last week, Saturday. I wanted to say Saturday. Just got a case for it. It's a nice phone, but I love this Google thing. Google Now is what it's called. You can talk into your phone. Watch this. You unlock the phone. See, it's got this little speaker here. Just press that. What year did Blade Runner come out?
Blade Runner was released in the United States on June 25, 1982.
Pretty cool, right? You can have it call your contacts, like, watch this. Okay, Google, send an email to Cameron.
Which Cameron?
Didn't ask me what the message is. Okay, Google, what time should I be there?
Here's your email. Do you want to send it?
See? Pretty cool, huh? You can do it with your voice. Oops, open up Instagram. That's pretty neat. I like it a lot. I've got NetHack on here. It's that dungeon crawler. I'm playing as Roll Fizzlebeef. I don't know how well you can see. Hello, Roll Fizzlebeef, the Elven Ranger. Welcome back to NetHack. Let's try something else. Play KMFDM. I have them in my playlist. Play KMFDM Megalomaniac Club Mix. I have that in my phone, it's not playing it. Okay, Google. How to get Google Now to play local track. Oh, you have to listen, okay. Listen to KMFDM. It wants to go to the Play Store. Okay, Google. Google Play. Okay, Google. Google Play Music. Yeah, it's in my playlist, but it's not wanting to go to it. What do you know? Alright, hello. What's up? We're back with Generation Z. Playing around with my phone. Playing around with Google Now, trying to get it to play music. Can't figure that out. You know, like I tell it to play a song, and it just goes straight to the actual, like, for me to buy the song, but I already have it. I don't want to buy it, I've already got it. I don't get how you're supposed to get that to work, but maybe I'm just stupid. I don't know. I don't get it, man. But this Google Now is great for the show, because it talks. You know, so I can ask it questions. It's really cool. Check this out. It's on most Android phones, actually. It's this little bar up at the top that says Google. You click on that, and you can search or say the words to get it to search. I won't say it because it'll ask me to search. But it's actually really cool stuff. Like, for instance, let's say I want to know what year Blade Runner came out. Okay? Watch this. Okay, Google, what year did Blade Runner come out? Give it a
Blade
second.
Runner was released in the United States on June 25th, 1982.
See, there you go. Pretty neat, huh? And it'll do this for like any question at all. Like if you ask it what the weather's like, check this out. Okay, Google, what's the weather like in Hickson?
It's 39 degrees and clear in Chattanooga.
See? Pretty neat, huh? I love this thing. I've been playing with it all day. I'm driving my parents nuts walking around going, okay, Google, what's this? You know, stuff I already know. I just want to see how it reacts. It's a lot of fun. You know, it's like, I want to know something. So I say, okay, Google, give me this. My mom actually was wanting a recipe for something. So I said, okay, Google, give me a recipe for chicken casserole. And it brought up like 50 of them. It's pretty nifty. Well, anyway, speaking of Google, though, they've been ordered to remove an anti-Islamic film from YouTube, according to Slashdot. Yeah, an anti-Islamic film from YouTube. Well, we'll get into why this is a problem in a minute. The Verge reports Google and YouTube must scrub copies of Innocence of Muslims, a low-budget anti-Islam film that drew international protest in 2012 at the behest of an actress who says she received death threats after being duped into a role. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has granted a temporary takedown order on behalf of Cindy Lee Garcia, who filed a copyright claim against Google in an attempt to purge the video from the web. While actors usually give up the right to assert copyright protection when they agree to appear in a film, Garcia says that not only was she never an employee to any meaningful sense, the finished film bore virtually no relation to the one she agreed to appear in. In a majority opinion, Judge Alex Kozinski said she was likely in the right. TechDirt has extensive commentary on the ruling that's worth reading. It seems likely that there will be an appeal, with the distinct possibility that Google and the MPAA will be on the same side. So Google and the MPAA being on the same side during a court trial, that's crazy. You know, that doesn't happen very often. The MPAA, of course, is the Motion Picture Association of America, and wow. And the Innocence of Muslims is what they tried to blame the Benghazi bombings on, or the Benghazi attack on the consulate. They said, well, it was this video that caused a protest, when in fact it was not at all. It was actually a terrorist attack or a CIA mop-up job, if you believe other people. But, yeah, kind of weird. Google being ordered to remove things from YouTube. Now, it's not being asked to remove it because it's anti-Islamic. See, that's what the headline would have you believe. You know, if you read the article, or you read the headline, I should say, you read Google ordered to remove anti-Islamic film from YouTube, you most likely think, oh, Muslims are complaining. Well, it's actually not the case this time. It's that this actress who appeared in it doesn't want to be in it. So, okay. You know, alright, if you don't want to be in it. But she's already been in it, so her argument is that she doesn't want to be in it anymore. She claims that the thing she signed up for is not what actually took place, essentially. So we'll see how this one develops. We'll have to see what becomes of this one. Google being ordered to remove an anti-Islamic film, and this time Google and the MPAA will be on the same side, so says the article. So, wow. This could be the MPAA trial of the century, or at least the one to look after. I'm interested. I'll keep you posted on this one. I definitely will, because I want to keep myself posted anyway, so I may as well tell you about it too. Visual effects artists are using MPAA's own words against it, according to Slashdot, though. Back on the topic of the MPAA, the Motion Picture Association of America, says, struggles of visual effects artists against the Motion Picture Association of America. The visual effects industry in the U.S. has been slowly dying because movie studios increasingly outsource their work to save money. The visual effects industry protested and fought where they could, but they had little success. Until the MPAA filed a seemingly innocuous legal document to the International Trade Commission 2 weeks ago. In it, the MPAA argues that the international trade of intellectual property is just like international trade of manufactured goods and should be afforded the same protections. This would naturally apply to visual effects work as well. Thus, Emboldened by the MPAA's filing, the visual effects workers are now in a position to use the big studios' own arguments to compel the government to slap trade tariffs on those studios' own productions in high-subsidy countries. Those arguments will be especially powerful because the MPAA made them to the very same governmental agencies that will process the visual effects workers' case. Additionally, the workers can now take matters into their own hands. If visual effects workers can show the Commerce Department and the U.S. International Trade Commission that an import is benefiting from foreign subsidies and therefore illegally undercutting a domestic industry, the federal government is obligated to automatically slap a punitive tax on that import. Such a tax would in practice erase the extra profit margins the studios are gleaning from foreign subsidies, thereby leveling the competitive playing field for American workers and eliminating the purely economic incentive for these studios to engage in mass offshoring. So this would require them, basically, if they want to keep their money, to hire United States visual effects workers. So this could be very good for them. So that's pretty cool stuff. I mean, good for the visual effects workers using the law against the lawmakers, I guess, but I don't know. MPAA is weird. I don't like them. Motion Picture Association of America. They're always whining about people. It seems like that's all they do is whine. Oh, people are downloading things. Wah. Whatever. Well, graphene-based microbattery could power biotelemetry implants, according to Extreme Tech. Yeah. Biotelemetry implants. Isn't that a fun word? It's a fun thing to think about, biotelemetry implants. Scaling down electronics isn't only important when building consumer devices, it also has a huge impact on the world of implantable medical devices. However, as with all things technological, batteries just aren't keeping up with all the other computers, or all the other components, I should say. It is possible to build incredibly small sensor packages that can be injected into the body, but these tiny silver oxide watch batteries most devices use just don't allow for long-term study. This problem might be solved by everyone's favorite form of carbon, graphene. A new type of graphene microbattery could kick off a new stage of long-term biotelemetry. If a doctor or scientist needs to track some aspect of a person's health, they either need to be hooked up to an external machine or there needs to be something implanted into the patient's body. For example, blood glucose and cardiac monitors. These devices are usually very short-lived or much larger than they would otherwise be due to power requirements. Work on miniaturizing implantables relies on smaller, more efficient batteries like the graphene cell created by researchers at the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. The PNNL battery was developed for an experiment following the development of an adolescent salmon. Existing implantable sensors didn't last long enough to keep relaying data over the course of the fish's migration, so the researchers looked into building something better. In the process of chasing the perfect implantable fish sensor, the team designed a so-called jelly roll microbattery based on a graphene cathode. So, a graphene battery, of course graphene is a lot more conductive than silicon, so we have that going for it. But graphene is a new sort of thing that we've only just recently figured out how to actually effectively use, and we're still figuring it out right now. The form of graphene used in the PNNL battery is known as fluorinated graphene. The application of fluoride to graphene enhances its electrochemical properties, allowing it to retain higher voltages and discharge more efficiently. The microbattery design is referred to as a jelly roll because the various components are laid out flat in a stack during construction. There is the fluorinated graphene cathode and a lithium-based anode, each with separating layers in between. The entire stack is then rolled up into a cylinder and sealed, thus a jelly roll. What do you know? So that's a pretty cool idea. But will it actually be practical? Well, this design allows for a significant increase in the total surface area of cathode and anode, meaning higher capacity. Even in this first iteration, the researcher managed to double the capacity of other microbatteries. And this cell is even smaller than most, about the size of a grain of rice. Whoa! The size of a grain of rice for a battery that lasts longer than other microbatteries. It's capable of sending out a 744 microsecond pulse every 5 seconds for a month. That's more than sufficient to gather biotelemetry data over the long term. Wow. If these tiny batteries could be developed into a reliable component in human medicine, they could be absolutely saving lives. Wow. A battery that's about the size of a grain of rice. Can you think about that? I mean, wow. That is so small. So these tiny batteries can be developed into a reliable component that could actually save lives. Yeah. Patients with medical conditions that require monitoring could get real-time updates and may not need to spend as much time in the hospital or as much money. If you think about that, having more procedures. Having fewer people in hospitals simply for monitoring reduces the risk of nosocomial hospital-acquired infections like staph infections or MRSA or what have you. However, there is still work to be done in the design of PNNL's batteries. Each one for the fish study was handmade from sheets of individual components. Other teams are sure to look more closely at fluorinated graphene batteries now. So we could have mass production of these batteries. And of course, eventually we'll have higher capacity ones too. I mean, usually the first iteration is not the best. I mean, the Model T was not the best Ford car ever, or maybe it was, I don't know. But usually future iterations tend to be a little bit more efficient, a little bit better. So as these PNNL batteries are developed over the course of time, we'll surely be seeing better ones. So I'm pretty excited for that. Batteries the size of a grain of rice. If we can scale that up even slightly, batteries the size of, I don't know, anything else. Just a larger battery, maybe a laptop battery made of the same stuff. That could be very cool, because that means we could have laptops powered for a month at a time. That could be pretty neat. I'd be down with that. Well, astronomers have discovered water vapor on a nearby alien planet, according to Extreme Tech. You do realize any planet that is not Earth is an alien planet, right? No, it's an alien planet. No kidding. It's not Earth, is it? No. Well, then it's an alien planet. There you go. According to Extreme Tech. The more advanced our space exploration technology becomes, the more radical things we find floating in the void of space. We found a planet made of diamond, and ones that have diamond rain. Astronomers have discovered travel with their own moons. Wait, astronomers have discovered that Mars once had falling snow, and that certain asteroids travel with their own moon. There we go. Skipped a line. Now astronomers have found that an alien planet has water vapor in its atmosphere, and it also happens to be one of the first exoplanets ever discovered. So if it has water vapor in its atmosphere, I wonder what the oxygen content is. It has to have some oxygen on the planet in order to have water vapor. The planet, known as Tau Boötis b, was originally discovered back in 1996 and was the first alien planet ever discovered by astronomers. The planet is roughly 51 light-years away, making it one of the closest known exoplanets to Earth. It's classified as a hot Jupiter, which means it's a gas giant located close to its sun. When analyzing the planet's light through the near-infrared Echelle spectrograph, an instrument that separates different colors of light, astronomers at the Keck Observatory in Hawaii were able to discern a wavelength of light that belonged to an atmospheric water vapor. The color associated with the glow of the Tau Boötis b atmosphere is matching the glow of water vapor. Previously, astronomers used a similar technique to discover carbon monoxide in the planet's atmosphere. So that's good. That means that it has an atmosphere for one, but that also means that it could be livable. Conveniently, the spectrograph atmosphere analysis technique only works with large planets that are close to bright stars. Due to these specific conditions, the technique cannot, unfortunately, analyze Earth-like planets. However, as astronomers become more familiar with NIRSPEC and its technologies beef up, it will be able to identify and analyze super-Earths, which is a bit less exciting than it would seem. The term super-Earth doesn't refer to a planet's habitability or conditions, but instead simply refers to its mass. So you'd have a planet that's like Earth, but as big as Jupiter, something like that. Not too long ago, the Mars Curiosity rover discovered that Martian soil contained a large amount of water. So while finding water vapor in the atmosphere of an alien planet is certainly an impressive and exciting discovery, it doesn't mean that there's some sort of lake sitting down within the gas giant that is evaporating water in the atmosphere. However, the discovery of water vapor in the atmosphere for Tau Boötis b reaffirms that water in the universe isn't as scarce as it might seem. Caltech professor Geoffrey Blake noted that through NIRSPEC's discovery capability is currently limited to giant planets that closely orbit a bright star, future telescopes such as the James Webb Space Telescope will expand that discovery capability and will be able to analyze planets cooler in temperature and farther from their star. For now, though, NIRSpec is doing just fine, making exciting discoveries. So it could be that if it's 51 light years away, that, it takes a bit of a while to get there. But hey, maybe we'll discover faster than light travel at some point, although I very much doubt it. And we'll be able to figure all that out, and we'll be able to get there within a month, travel back, and tell our children of the tales and adventures we had, or whatever. But you know what? A planet way out there. I mean, think about that. There's all these millions and billions of planets out there. It's weird to think about space. Like, if you really sit down and think about space, how big it is and how small we are, it's crazy. It's weird. Well, there's two different black phones I want to talk about. There's one from Boeing, and there's one from, Blackphone. It's actually not a company called Blackphone, but it's a company that deals in Blackphone. What's a black phone? Well, supposedly, it's a phone that means it doesn't actually, contain it encrypts your data. That's what I'm trying to say. And there's one that is supposed to be semi-NSA proof, and then there's this one from Boeing that doesn't claim to be that, but it does have some pretty interesting claims. Boeing's black smartphone will deactivate if tampered with, according to CNET. Boeing has made a smartphone that appears to have come straight out of a James Bond movie. Codenamed Black, this spy-like phone will erase all data and deactivate if tampered with or pried open. The Aerospace and Defense Company filed documents for the phone with the Federal Communications Commission on Wednesday. Those documents were first cited by tech site Mice, MYCE, and Boeing confirmed with GeekWire that it has indeed released the device, which runs on Google's Android. While many of the details about the smartphone are confidential, a letter included in the filing gives a bit of explanation. Boeing's black phone will be sold primarily to government agencies and companies engaged in contractual activities with those agencies that are related to defense and homeland security, the letter says. So it's like a Jason Bourne phone. Boeing writes that the device won't be available to the consumer market, and technical information on Black is to remain confidential or protected by non-disclosure agreements. This is most likely due to the device's high security. So I can't wait for someone to crack into it. The Boeing Black phone is manufactured as a sealed device with both epoxy around the casing and with screws, the heads of which are covered with tamper-proof covering to identify attempted disassembly, the letter says. Any attempt to break open the casing of the device would trigger functions that would delete the data and software contained within the device and make the device inoperable. The filing doesn't include many images or specs on the smartphone, but it does show that the device will have dual SIM cards, support GSM, WCDMA, and LTE. Boeing's plans to create a uber-secure Android phone leaked out 2 years ago, but news on the device has been quiet ever since. At the time, the smartphone was reported to be cheaper than similar proprietary secure devices, which could put it on competition with companies like BlackBerry, which are known for making secure government devices. So Boeing, which makes planes, in case you didn't know, is now working on making smartphones. Well, I mean, if anyone's going to be good at engineering, it's going to be Boeing, but still, that's kind of interesting. A Boeing spokesperson told GeekWire that Black has unique embedded hardware and software security. It also is compatible with other mobile management systems. Designed to meet the evolving security needs of defense and security customers, Boeing has released a modular smartphone to enable secure access and exchange of critical data and communications on a trusted mobile device, the spokesperson said. Boeing has drawn on its deep expertise in information assurance, advanced technology partners, and U.S.-based manufacturer to provide an innovative, secure, and flexible mobile solution. CNET contacted Boeing for more information, and CNET will update the story when they hear back. But that's a kind of a cool idea as a encrypted smartphone. Of course, consumers will never get an encrypted smartphone because, well, we'll get an encrypted smartphone, but not one as secure as this one. Why? Because the NSA needs to spy on us. That's why. It's for national security. If anyone is able to be perfectly secure, then we can't have that, because then the NSA will come after us because they need our data. Have you heard of black bag operations? I was just reading about it the other day. Let me Google it so I don't get the definition wrong. A black bag operation is, from what I can tell, here, let's ask Google. What is a black bag operation?
Black bag operation. Black bag operations are covered are clandestine entries into structures to obtain information for human intelligence operations. This usually entails breaking and entering into denied areas.
Yeah. See, a black bag operation is done by the CIA quite often to break into areas that really shouldn't be broken into by regular people, and they do it to obtain information like files, they copy files, that sort of thing. They have hand scanners, not hand scanners as in they scan people's hands, but they have portable scanners so they can scan documents, or they can just use a smartphone and take a picture. I mean, honestly, your smartphone will take a pretty good picture. I mean, no kidding. You don't need a portable scanner anymore when you got a smartphone. It'll just take a good picture of a document that's readable. Just take a JPEG image of that nice document in front of you, and there you go. Now you've got all the words on it. No problem. Yeah, that's perfectly readable. And assuming every government agent has a smartphone, probably actually these Boeing black phones, then that's not really a problem to scan documents. But my point about black bag operations is, even if you manage to hide all your computer information from the NSA, they can just call out a black bag operation from the CIA or the FBI and have your information stolen from you without you ever knowing it when you leave the house. Because, after all, they collect metadata. They can get where you are, where you live, where you hang out, and then they find out you're at work every day from 11 to 1. They go to your house and take your info. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of unsettling when you think about it, when you really give some thought to it, but that's just how it is. That's the world we gotta live in, man. But, yeah. Well, in a minute we're going to talk about Walmart buying Recipe Startup to pair with online grocery delivery, according to CNET. You'll notice a lot of stores have apps now. Publix has one. It's kind of interesting. And Nokia is buying Android phones, but we talked about that yesterday, so we don't need to get into that again. Elop has been handed the keys to the Xbox division at Microsoft, which is an odd move on Microsoft's part. And cold-tolerant oil-producing sugarcane could be one sweet source of biofuel. I'm all for biofuel. We'll talk about all that in just a second here on Generation Z, so don't go anywhere. Don't touch that dial, dude. Get images for Danky Kang.
Check out these pictures for Danky Kang.
Okay, Google. Quote Mark.
Remark Media closed up 5.19% today at $6.08.
Okay, Google. Google stock price.
Google is currently trading at $1,220.41.
Okay, Google. Who is Kevin Mitnick?
According to Wikipedia, Kevin David Mitnick is an American computer security consultant, author, and hacker.
Okay, Google. Who is John Titor? Okay, Google. Who is John Titor? Okay, Google. Give me images for I Dreamed This Man.
mind read this, man. Here you go.
Okay, Google, give me images for Copperhead 1240.
Pictures of Copperhead 1240.
Okay, Google. Oh, wait. How do I say goodbye in Russian?
До свидания.
That's awesome. Hello there. We're back with Generation Z. You can also do translations with Google Now. I'm playing around with that now too. This is cool. Check this out. How do I say goodbye in Russian?
До свидания.
See? Isn't that rad? Okay, Google. How do I say hello in Chinese?
Here is your translation.
It says ni hao in Chinese. Pretty neat, huh? And you can do all that with Google Now. See, I'm so excited about it because I've just got it, so I'm playing around with it. I like it a lot better than I like Siri. I'm not gonna lie, Siri was kind of a pain in the neck. It's like, stop it, Siri, stop talking to me. But this Google Now thing is very helpful. Mostly because it does Google searches, you know, so it's just, boom, all that stuff is there for you. Like if I want to know who Kevin Mitnick is, if I've been dropped on the head and forgot, I can just look it up, like this. Who is Kevin Mitnick?
According to Wikipedia, Kevin David Mitnick is an American computer security consultant, author, and hacker.
See, there you go. Now I know who Kevin Mitnick is. Of course, I already knew because I have 2 of his books, but whatever. So we're going to talk now about a cold-tolerant oil-producing sugarcane. It could be one sweet source of biofuel, according to Gizmag. Sugarcane grows like crazy, so if it could be used as a source of biofuel, well, not only might it produce higher yields than other crops, but it could conceivably do so using less land. With that in mind, scientists from the University of Illinois are creating a strain of the plant that produces more oil, gets more energy from the sun, and can be grown in colder climates. Led by plant biologist Professor Stephen P. Long, the researchers have introduced genes to sugarcane plants that boost the oil production in their stems by 1.5%. Ultimately, he hopes to see that raised to around 20%. While 1.5 isn't a huge number, Long explains, at 1.5%, a sugarcane field in Florida would produce about 50% more oil per acre than a soybean field. And soybeans are currently a major source of biofuel, although Long believes that they can't meet U.S. energy demands. Additionally, his team genetically engineered sugarcane plants to be 30% more photosynthetically efficient, meaning they get 30% more growth energy from a given amount of sunlight than regular sugarcane. The scientists have also crossbred sugarcane with a perennial grass known as miscanthus, which is hardly as far north as Canada. They note that more breeding will be required to restore some of the cane's other attributes, however. Down the road, they hope to combine all of what they've done into a single strain of sugarcane. They have also been developing an enhanced type of sorghum, which is like sugarcane in that it's very fast growing. Long's team includes colleagues from Brookhaven National Laboratory, the University of Florida, and the University of Nebraska. So there you go. Biofuels. My dad actually tried to get on that biofuel bandwagon. Didn't work out so good because they thought it was a meth lab and shut him down. No, actually, he tried to do biodiesel, and it's not been working out so great just because it's difficult to get the stuff you need and all that sort of thing. But hey, biodiesel's cool. Now, Stephen Elop has been handed the keys to the Xbox division at Microsoft, according to MCV UK. That's an interesting development for Microsoft, to be sure. Being handed the keys to the Xbox division is kind of a big responsibility. A former Nokia CEO, Stephen Elop, has been appointed as the head of Microsoft's devices and studios business, though. The appointment was expected following rumors earlier this month. Current Devices and Studios boss Julie Larson Green is to assume the new role of Chief Experience Officer for the Applications and Services Group. So, being handed the keys to the Xbox division is kind of a big deal. I mean, Xbox brings in a ton of money from Microsoft, so it's only to be expected that they would be expecting the best out of whoever is given the occupation, right? So it's kind of interesting they would give it to the CEO, or the former CEO, Stephen Elop of Nokia. Nokia. Well, you are all in great hands with Stephen, says Larson Green, said in a memo obtained by TechCrunch. Already, we've shared a lot with him and his LT from Nokia regarding all of the fantastic people, teams, and products in DNS. I also know many of you are looking forward to welcoming the Nokia team and working more closely with them. So, at least I'm being cordial about it. I mean, hey, do what you gotta do, man, but it's kind of cool that they're using Nokia. I mean, Nokia has made good hardware over the years, so he should know what he's doing when it comes to hardware. And when it comes to research and development, too, which is something that's going to be kind of a big deal for Microsoft. I just hope he's a gamer, because if you're coming out with a game system, you're going to want to be a gamer to know how this stuff works. Well, the bigger question is now whether last year's claims that Elop then tipped to become Microsoft's new CEO, a role since filled by Satya Nadella, if he harbors plans to sell off the Xbox business in its entirety, will prove accurate. So will they sell off Xbox? Will Xbox be sold to another company other than Microsoft? Do you realize how big a deal that would be? I mean, video games are a multi-billion-dollar business. Don't be mistaken. So if they sell it off, who would they sell it to? Texas Instruments, Apple? Oh no. Sell it to Apple? Sell the Xbox business to Apple? No, that wouldn't happen. What if they sold it to Google? Ooh, Google. What if they sold it to Samsung? Who in the world would you sell the Xbox business to? It had to be a good company. Would they sell it to EA? Would they sell it to a games company? Critics have pointed out that Elop oversaw Nokia's quite dramatic fall from grace since it saw it relinquish its undisputed grip on the global mobile phone market. The counter-argument, of course, is that Elop did a solid job of steering Nokia through an unprecedented period of dramatic change to the sector, spearheaded by the rise of the iPhone and smartphones. Yeah, you'll remember Nokia used to be the phone maker. I mean, Nokia, you could not go wrong if you bought a Nokia back in the day. I mean, I had a Nokia way back in the 90s. I'm old. No, I'm actually 18, but my parents had a Nokia way back in the 90s, and it was a good phone. It was a great phone. But then we got flip phones because they were the new thing, and they were cool. They were great phones too. But then the iPhone came out and ruined all of it for us, and we only got smartphones just recently because we're poor. Oh, we're poor people. Well, Elop did a solid job of steering Nokia through the unprecedented period of dramatic change to the sector. That's true because now Nokia makes both Android phones and Windows phones. So Nokia can do no wrong. But the Xbox business, it makes Microsoft quite a bit of money. Why would they sell it off? I mean, he's the CEO now. He's the head of the group. He's been appointed as head of Microsoft Devices and Studios business. So Microsoft Studios could be sold off and become something else, like Gearbox or, oh gosh, I don't know, Bungie. Huh. That could be interesting. I'd like to see how this will play out. Very, very interesting. I'm just trying to think of a world where Xbox is not made by Microsoft. I mean, that was the big deal when it came out. The first Xbox was that it was made by Microsoft. It was like this device, this gaming device, made by a company that mainly worked in software, only worked in software. And then suddenly they're coming out and having a games console. They're coming out with a games console. I mean, that's just out of nowhere. Out of left field. You know, actually the original name for it was not the Xbox. It was called the Direct Xbox because it ran on DirectX 8. Or was it 9? I think it was 8 at that time. And then it was 9 on the Xbox 360. Yeah, that's what it was. Now they're using 11 on the Xbox One. But yeah. Oh man. It's weird to think of. Very weird. But anyway. Back to the stories at hand. Like, for instance, if this computer will stop freaking out. Oh no, the computer's broken. There we go. Walmart buys recipe startup to prepare for online grocery delivery. An online grocery delivery service. Amazon already does a similar thing. It's called Amazon Prime's delivery service? I can't remember what it's called. It's a subscription thing. We get it at my house. It's pretty neat. Well, Walmart is buying a recipe startup to pair with its online grocery delivery. To help bolster its growing grocery delivery service, Walmart has acquired Yumprint, or Yumprint. Yeah, Yumprint, of course, because it's a company that powers publishing of recipes for food blogs, the retail giant announced Wednesday. The startup is behind several meal planning products, including a publishing network that helps more than 2,000 food blogs display recipes and a recipe clipper browser extension. Walmart plans to utilize Yumprint's talent, co-founders Chris Crittenden and Wes Geyer, to help its online delivery service Walmart To Go. The service also delivers fresh produce. Chris and Wes's ideas and ambitions for transforming the grocery shopping experience match the global opportunity Walmart enjoys in this space, and their accomplishments with Yumprint just scratch the surface of what we're going to do next together, says Ben Galbraith, Walmart.com's Vice President of Global Products. That's what he wrote in a blog post. It's not clear what kind of role Yumprint will play in Walmart To Go, but it could be a different take from what other companies are doing, judging from the existing Yumprint products. Retailers like Walmart and its competitor Amazon are trying to figure out how to make it in the tricky world of online grocery delivery. Building the infrastructure to get fresh produce from the warehouse to your door is expensive and a huge commitment, but they're willing to take the gamble if it means making themselves the default source for the product you need most, food. That is the one thing that we inarguably need, is food, after all. There's no getting around it. There's no one on this earth who can say, I don't need food, I haven't eaten in years. It just doesn't happen. Unless we're talking about Soylent, the food replacement, which I should mention. Eventually, I'm going to be doing a stunt where I do not eat for a week. How am I going to pull that off? Well, I'm going to have Soylent, which is a food replacement, and I'll have it for a week, and I will broadcast to you the effects it has on my body. Not eating for a week. I'll drink coffee and water and all that stuff, just like I regularly would, but I'll limit myself to only coffee and water for my drinking. No more soda for the whole week. No, which is fine with me anyway, I hardly ever have soda. And no tea, no anything like that, just coffee and water. They'll be my two beverages. And no sugary beverages of any sort, nothing other than Soylent will be what I'll be eating. So we'll see how it goes for the whole week. Well, Google's Project Aura modular smartphone gets its own developer conference this April, according to TechCrunch. I should mention too, by the way, you can email the show. I totally forgot. You can email the show, generationz1240@gmail.com. That's generationz1240@gmail.com. Or you can tweet the show, generationz1240. It's at generationz1240 on Twitter, on the tweet box. And if you want to tweet me there, you can do just that. So, yeah, Twitter's kind of a cool thing. I do like it a lot. It has its benefits anyway. Like, it just sort of, it gets the messages out there very quickly. It makes anybody a correspondent. It's like we don't need these guys to tell us how to report. We'll do what we want. And you can just report whatever the heck you want, whether it's accurate or not. In fact, let me log in right now. GenerationZ1240 on Twitter. And I just like the idea of Twitter. Why do I like the idea of Twitter? Well, it tends to just sort of work as it should. Like, you get 140 characters, you say what you're going to say, and it keeps you from going on and on and on. And that's the thing I like most about it, honestly. Because you have this problem online where people just don't stop talking. I know it sounds harsh, but that is a real problem on the internet, is where people have these long, drawn-out discussions about things, and there's simply no need for it a lot of the time. It's like, okay, we get it. So this is a good avenue for people to sort of get information out there quickly, to the point, send out a link, send out a picture, be funny. I like it. And of course there's Hot News Radio on Twitter, which is the Twitter for the radio station. Hot News Radio's at Hot News Radio on Twitter. He has quite a few followers too. I don't know how he did it, but he's got several thousand followers. Pretty crazy. Well, Google's Project Ara modular smartphone gets its own developer conference this April, according to TechCrunch. Google is not abandoning Project Ara after taking over the ambitious experimental smartphone design concept along with the Advanced Technology and Projects group from Motorola. ATAP only just announced Tango, its 3D environment sensor for mobile devices, and now it's revealing a 2-day developer conference April 15th and 16th at the Computer History Museum in Mountain View. Ara, for those who aren't familiar, is a modular smartphone project that would allow users to swap out interchangeable parts to give their device a different sensor from a store that would operate similarly to a hardware version of the Play mobile software marketplace, and theoretically upgrade your phone piecemeal instead of having to buy a brand new one every few years just for a few highlight features. This is the first in a planned series of Ara dev conferences for 2014, Google says, and the event will focus specifically on the alpha release of the Ara Modular Developers Kit, or MDK, which will hit the web in early April. The free platform will offer developers anything and everything they need to get up and running and building Ara hardware modules. But think about that. Modular hardware. I like modular things. Customizing a smartphone seems like the coolest idea ever to me, because I don't like the idea of spending all this money once every few years just to get a new smartphone once my old one becomes outdated, you know? So this modular smartphone would do away with that whole concept. Instead, manufacturers would probably have proprietary parts for proprietary designs and their proprietary hardware specifications, we'll say. Like Samsung will have Samsung stuff, Microsoft will have Windows Phone stuff, and, well, you get the idea. So Samsung will probably have Google-compatible devices and that sort of thing. But it'll make it so you have a baseboard that you use, a baseboard we'll call it, and you plug components into it, and there you go. You want a bigger battery? You get a bigger battery. So the Modular Developers Kit will hit the web in early April. The free platform will offer developers everything they need to get up and running building Ara hardware modules. ATAP promises. Limited in-person attendance is available with a $100 fee and $25 for students, covering food and a special social session. Google is approving these based on the strength of your application, so make it a good one. Ara is meant to be a one-size-fits-all solution for smartphones, offering anything to any potential user in the world with its range of modules. That's a hugely ambitious goal, of course, but in ATAP's own words, they like epic stuff, to paraphrase. So that seems to be within its scope. So, Ara, modular smartphone. I wonder if they combine that with Project Tango. And Project Tango was something else, let me tell you. It was a project where, and I can actually pull up an article on it, but it was a project where they were actually scanning a room with the smartphone. It's this phone that has all these sensors in it. It's insane. It's like this new thing. I've never seen anything like it before. It's like a tricorder. They were building a 3D model of a building as they were walking through it from the scanner. It was just crazy. It was using telemetry data. It was using geometry. It was just crazy. Project Tango. And it's from Motorola's division what used to be Motorola's division. Motorola used to be quite the innovator in smartphone technology. And now they're owned by Google. And yeah, I have the article here. Where is it? I know I've got it. And now the mouse has stopped working. Oh, I think my mouse actually ran out of battery. So now it's not going. Uh-oh. That's not good. What am I going to do? Oh, well. Oh, no, there it goes. Okay. Yeah, but Project Tango, it was like you're building a 3D model of a room as you're going through it. And it was such a cool idea. Like, I'd never seen anything like that before. It really was just like a tricorder. Okay, here we go. Nope, that's not it either. It's gonna drive me nuts. I know what I'll do. I'll ask Google. Let's see. Go to the Google Voice. Project Tango. Okay, here we go. ATAP Project Tango. Here it is from Google's website. Now, ATAP was the that wing of Motorola that was bought by Google. Here we go. We can build it faster together, it says. As we walk through our daily lives, we use visual cues to navigate and understand the world around us. We observe the size and shape of objects in rooms, and we learn their position and layout almost effortlessly over time. This awareness of space and motion is fundamental to the way we interact with our environment and each other. We are physical beings that live in a 3D world, yet our mobile devices assume that physical world ends at the boundaries of the screen. The goal of Project Tango is to give mobile devices a human-scale understanding of speed, space, and motion. Over the past year, our team has been working with universities, research labs, and industrial partners spanning 9 countries around the world to harvest research from the last decade of work in robotics and computer vision, concentrating that technology into a unique mobile phone. Now we're ready to put early prototypes into the hands of developers who can imagine the possibilities and bring those ideas into reality. We hope that you will take this journey with us, and we believe it'll be one worth traveling. Johnny Lee and the ATAP Project Tango. The current prototype, though, is a 5-inch phone containing customized hardware and software designed to track full 3D motion of the device, while simultaneously creating a map of the environment. These sensors allow the phone to make 250,000 3D measurements every second, allowing it to update its position and orientation in real time, combining that data into a single 3D model of the space around you. So what's the purpose of that? Well, you can map your house for different apps, but the big question is, what purpose does it have? What can you do with it? Well, what if you could capture the dimensions of your home simply by walking around with your phone before you went to furniture shopping? What if directions to a new location didn't stop at the street address? What if you never again found yourself lost in a new building? What if the visually impaired could navigate unassisted in unfamiliar indoor places? What if you could search for a product and see where the exact shelf is located in a superstore? Imagine playing hide and seek in your house with your favorite game character, or transforming the hallways into tree-lined paths. Imagine competing against a friend or control over territories in your home with your own miniature army, or hiding secret virtual treasures in physical places around the world. So you can do geocaching with it if you want to. But they're hoping for a release, or they're expecting to distribute all of our available units by March 14th, 2014. So yeah, if you're into that, you can go to Project Tango's website and develop an app for it if you sign with an application, and maybe you can come out with something cool. I'd love to see a developer from the Chattanooga area or Ringgold or wherever develop an app for Project Tango. That'd be cool. Can you imagine that? Local developer creates app for legendary device. That'd be awesome. I'd like to see more local people in the tech industry. Now, I'm not in the tech industry. I just talk about it. That's the extent of my tech knowledge. I just talk about it. But when it comes to this sort of thing, I really do wish there were more people around here who are into the tech industry, who are insiders. That'd be awesome. But alas, it cannot be. I'm crying right now. But anyway, I should mention again the Twitter for the show, Generation Z1240. It's at Generation Z1240. And the email for the show is generationz1240@gmail.com. That's Generation Z1240@gmail.com. No spaces, no caps, no nothing like that. And you can also follow the radio station itself on Twitter, where Confederate Mike is always putting out controversial stuff on Twitter with Hot News Radio. It's at Hot News Radio on Twitter. Hot News Radio, where he's always tweeting about the current news and politics and all these other things. It's really interesting stuff. Follow him on Twitter. He's already got quite a few followers, a few thousand followers. I don't know how he did it. And don't forget also to listen to Nuganomics.com coming up at 1 o'clock with David Toulis, where he talks about local economy from his free market perspective. Don't worry though, the show's not over. We're going to talk about a new device. It uses a laser to provide life-saving information on patients' blood, according to Gizmag. And quite a few other things too, like for instance, oh yes, there's more. Authorities raid a large torrent site again, and it's back online, according to Torrent Freak. All that and much more coming up on Generation Z, so hang on, don't touch that dial. Hello, thanks Microsoft Sam. We're back with Generation Z. What's going on? So a new device is going to use a laser, to provide life-saving information on patients' blood. According to Gizmag. Not everyone's blood clots at the same rate. You may not know that, but it's true. While that might seem like simply an interesting bit of trivia, it's anything but trivial to doctors performing operations or emergency procedures who need to know what might be required in the way of transfusions or anticoagulant drugs. Now, an optical device can provide them with all of that information within minutes. Currently, in order to measure its clotting properties, patients' blood must be subjected to a series of lab tests that can take hours to perform, that require relatively large amounts of blood, or that involve large, expensive machines. The new device, developed by a team of Massachusetts General Hospital, gets much quicker. Less costly results, too. It's about the size of a Kleenex box, and it only requires a few drops. It utilizes a process known as laser speckle rheology, in which a laser is shined into the liquid and the patterns of the reflected light are analyzed. In the case of unclotted blood, the freely moving cells and platelets cause the pattern to fluctuate rapidly. As these cells and platelets start to join and the blood starts to coagulate, however, there's less movement and thus less fluctuations. Using a miniature high-speed camera, it's possible to monitor the change in the amount of fluctuations over a period of several minutes. That information can be used to deduce both the overall clotting time and the concentration of fibrinogen, a protein involved in the clotting process, in the blood. The current prototype must be hooked up to a computer, although the scientists hope to have a self-contained mobile phone-sized device ready for clinical trials within a year. The research was led by Assistant Professor this is going to be fun. Assistant Professor Simantini Nadkarni, there we go, on a paper, and a paper on it was recently published in the journal Biomedical Optics Express. So, wow. A laser device that can tell you at what point blood is clotting. And that's going to be very useful for doctors. So that's a cool device. Technology, man, is helping doctors heal patients faster. Something else, though, that's kind of funny is the authorities raided a large torrent site again, and it's back online again, according to Torrent Freak. Yeah, raids don't really do much good when it comes to torrent websites because they just sort of come back on. You know, you can't kill information. It's going to get out there. It's going to be there. There's no getting rid of info. It's just always there. Well, with reported backing from an infamous anti-piracy group, the data center of one of Sweden's largest torrent sites was raided last week. The operators of Tankefitast were all well prepared, and the site was quickly back online, delivering movies and TV shows from an international location. The episode is likely to have been an embarrassment to the authorities after efforts in 2012 and 2013 both failed to close the site. There was a time when raiding a torrent site meant that it stayed down for good, but with 2014 just a couple of months old, it's clear that things have changed. These latest signs relate to Tankefitast, Sweden's second torrent site, number 2, and the 95th most popular site in the country, according to Alexa. The site, second only to the Pirate Bay, specializes in movies and TV shows and has been an anti-piracy target for some time. With a motto of "We shall never surrender," one gets a flavor of how that's gone so far. On October 1st, 2012, PRQ, a web host previously owned by the Pirate Bay co-founder Gottfrid Svartholm, disappeared offline after Swedish police raided the facility. Many file-sharing sites went offline, and it was later confirmed that Tankefitast was the prime target. Just 3 weeks later, it was back online, taunting the authorities and nemesis Henrik Ponton at copyright protection outfit Anti-Piratbjörn, the Rights Alliance. In April of 2013, yet more action was taken against the site, with the arrest of one of the site's admins. Yet again, the site remained intact and online, and now, according to the site's operators, Rights Alliance and local authorities have had another go at shutting Tankefitast down. Once again, we fell victim to a Rights Alliance anti-piracy office ploy to shut down Tankefitast. Our data centers have been raided, the site's operators report. It appears that a continuing investigation led authorities to a location from where they believed Tankefitast was operating. While the raid last week may have unearthed something, the site was fully prepared for the event. Instead of sitting and waiting to see what the authorities want us to do, we can just move anywhere to our other servers located abroad. Once again, we will rise up again, the site's operators said. So basically, the authorities tried to shut them down, and that didn't work. You see, they shut them down, sure, in Sweden, but then they just had their servers backed up somewhere else, and they're back online. Like that. So it's not that hard. Sorry, authorities, you just can't stop piracy, it looks like. And a few initial problems aside, though, Taka Fatast returned online this weekend. We're going nowhere, Rights Alliance, believe it, the site declared. Interestingly, there was no announcement of action against Taka Fatast last week from Rights Alliance or the police. Both are usually fairly quick to inform the press of their achievements, but there are no reports from either. Torrent Free contacted lawyer Henrik Ponton for a comment, and has not received a response. Is anyone really surprised? It is certainly possible that the raid on the Taka Fatast data center was expected to fail. Last Thursday, a site operator revealed that the 2012 raid on PRQ didn't net the site, just a getaway. We had some old empty, dusty boxes with PRQ a few years ago, but that's merely a proxy. When the police got them, there was nothing left in them anyway, since the memory was cleared for at least an outside risk. For the least outside risk, he revealed. While in the old days, torrent site admins simply crossed their fingers and perhaps wore garlic to fend off attacks, it's becoming clearer that these days site setups are being hardened in preparation for what many believe to be an increasingly likely event, that being police raiding them. But these systems cost money, and that has to be made somehow. Intrusive advertising is one way, according to Taka Fatast. It's precisely because of pop-under advertising that we have been able to have servers around the world. Here you get a really good example. When one goes down, we just move to another. The advertising that many find annoying saves us in situations like this, they conclude. So even the most annoying ads can save your favorite pirate site. So, good news for you. And I'm not saying this because I advocate piracy, obviously. I could never do such a thing, if you know what I'm saying. But, hey, good for them. Fighting the law. Breaking the law. That's, these kind of technologies are cool anyway. Being able to back up your stuff and then moving them to an offshore server where the cops can't get them, that seems pretty cool to me. Maybe I'm just weird. Maybe I'm nuts. I'm crazy. Oh yeah, there was something I sent to Confederate Mike the other day that I meant to post on Twitter. It's called Surveillance Cameraman. It's the funniest thing you will ever see. Not ever see, ever, but it's really funny. It's this guy who has a camera, and he just goes around and points it at people, and that's it. And their reactions are priceless. Now, I'll admit, he's being annoying, but the point is you're always being surveilled. And that's why he's surveillance cameraman. It's like if the surveillance camera took human form. It's just always pointed at people. You don't think anything of it when you see a surveillance camera up on a roof, but you do think of it when you see a guy with a camera pointing it at you. See? And that's kind of the point he's trying to make, is that there's always cameras everywhere pointing at everybody. And this guy, surveillance cameraman, he points the camera at people, and he's really funny, too. He's not funny in that he's like a comedian. He just says things in this funny way. Like, he's just, you'd have to see it. It's hilarious. I'll tweet it out there for you. It's called Surveillance Cameraman. I'll tweet it out on the Generation Z 1240 Twitter. That's at Generation Z 1240 on Twitter. Twitter.com/@Generation Z 1240. Or Generation Z, yeah. Twitter.com/Generation Z 1240. There you go. Bye. I forgot how to use words. I'll tweet it out after the show. It's so funny. IBM is courting mobile developers for Watson platform, according to ZDNet. Remember Watson? It was that computer that beat Ken Jennings on Jeopardy? Well, IBM CEO Ginny Rometty pitched mobile developers on Watson and launched a global competition to promote apps for the cognitive computing platform. In a keynote at the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, Rometty outlined IBM's mobile strategy for Watson. Big Blue recently formed a Watson business group to focus on monetizing cognitive computing. Rometty said that the IBM Watson Mobile Developer Challenge will run 3 months to court applications that leverage Watson's technology. IBM said it will select 3 winners and support the developers to bring their apps to market. For IBM, creating an ecosystem around Watson is critical. The reality is that IBM can't possibly develop Watson apps to target every use case across enterprises and industries. Here's how the contest works. Developers will be invited to share their best mobile Watson app ideas and create prototypes. The winners will join the Watson Ecosystem Program. The winners will work with IBM Interactive Experience Consulting Practice to design and support the app. If all goes well, the Watson apps will become commercially viable. So far, IBM has collected cognitive computing app ideas from 1,500 people and companies, so you get to utilize the power of the supercomputer Watson. Sounds pretty cool, right? I'm down with that. Apps for a supercomputer. Pretty cool. I can't wait to see what they come up with. And Tesla has announced plans to build a battery-producing gigafactory in the U.S. by 2017, according to The Verge. It's about time someone had a battery factory around here, I tell you what. Well, being able to produce massive batteries is a core part of Tesla's electric car business, and the company has just announced plans to get even better at that. The company just announced plans to build a gigafactory, a US-based facility that'll focus on manufacturing lithium-ion batteries, and Tesla's plans for this factory are highly ambitious. By 2020, Tesla says it hopes its gigafactory will produce as many batteries as were produced worldwide in 2013. To meet that goal, Tesla will be partnering with other battery manufacturing partners in an effort to improve the economics of scale and reduce costs. The company says that with 1 year of operation, it expects the per kilowatt hours cost of its battery pack will drop by 30%. So they're going to drop costs. That's good. This isn't the first we've heard of Tesla's battery ambitions. The Gigafactory was mentioned last November by CEO Elon Musk on Tesla's earnings call. This is going to be a very green factory. There's going to be a lot of solar power. It's going to have essentially zero emissions, and there are no toxic elements that are going to come out. And we will build recycling capability right into the factory. It's definitely a bold move for Tesla, but there are a number of concrete benefits to the company that it could realize. Tesla is trying to anticipate projected upcoming demand for batteries and put itself in a position to be a mass-market electric car maker, and simultaneously help jumpstart new American manufacturing center. As for when the Gigafactory will open, Tesla hopes to start construction this year with a proposed opening date of 2017, and by 2020 the company hopes that its factory will produce batteries for a whopping 500,000 vehicles. So that's not bad at all. And it's good to see an American company coming out and getting stuff done. Because that's kind of what's killing industry here, is that American companies are outsourcing. Elon Musk knows what's up. He's going to build an American factory in the United States, and it's going to be, well, here, hiring Americans. Sounds good to me, right? I'm down with that. I mean, too often you see these companies outsourcing to China and India and what have you, and they have every right to do that, but that's not helping the American industry any, is it? So it's good to see a company like Tesla when they're coming out with these electric cars and helping the environment in general, but also they're coming out with these electric cars that are going to be hiring Americans. Not the cars themselves, but Tesla will be hiring Americans to build them, hiring Americans to build the factory, hiring Americans to work in the factory. So overall, it's good for Americans. It's good stuff. Elon Musk is a smart guy. While the Justice Department has asked to keep phone records longer as evidence in anti-NSA lawsuits, here we go again. The Obama administration is asking permission to hold on to the NSA's database of phone records for longer than 5 years because of lawsuits from the EFF, the ACLU, and others. The Wall Street Journal reports in a request to the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, the Department of Justice asked for permission to keep records that would otherwise need to be purged, arguing that it must keep them in order to comply with laws against destroying evidence. Last year, the EFF and many other groups filed suit against the Obama administration for collecting phone metadata in the bulk, and the ACLU is currently appealing a defeat in the federal court over the issue. The Department of Justice, meanwhile, is appealing its own loss in a separate district. The Journal reported on the possibility of this request last week, citing officials' concerns that these records could prove relevant in new cases. One of the biggest problems, for example, has been proving that anyone who brings a suit has actually been the subject of surveillance. If old records are purged and new ones aren't collected, then groups with legitimate complaints could be unable to defend them. Complicating this, however, is the fact that the administration has given up virtually no data about who's being watched over the course of the lawsuits. purging records might destroy evidence, but it's not clear how groups like the ACLU will get access to it if it's kept. Under the request, the information wouldn't simply be kept in the same state it's in now. It'd be preserved in government computers, but NSA analysts would not be able to query it, theoretically minimizing the possibility of privacy violations. In a statement given last week, the Electronic Frontier Foundation agreed that the government could save the phone records as long as they would be unsearchable. But legal director Cindy Cohn expressed skepticism that the government was doing more than looking for a way to throw rocks at the litigation. As this request is being made, the administration is also weighing the long-term future of the phone surveillance program. Obama has promised to end the practice of storing records in an NSA database, but he has held off on announcing a specific course, opting to ask for recommendations from the Intelligence Committee. The program's data could instead be held by phone companies or another third party, or the program itself could be abolished, with agencies instead relying on other laws as to subpoena individual records, which means they'd have to go through the legal way, which means they'd have to subpoena records every time they wanted them from a particular person. So they'll probably have cut and paste subpoenas where they just put the name in there and print it out and send it off to your ISP or your provider or what have you. There's an update though. ACLU Director Jamil Jaffer issued a statement on the request. This is just a distraction. We don't have any objection to the government deleting these records. While they're at it, they should delete the whole database. Update number 2. Electronic Frontier Foundation staff attorney Mark Rummold says the group was never approached about the changes. We agree with the government in principle that they are under an obligation to preserve evidence, but we're a bit confused as to why this is filing it in the FISC, and inquiries from the press are the first we've heard about the issue. They never approached us to discuss it, but we could certainly be open to discussing a reasonable solution. But it's disheartening to see the government try to hold the privacy of all Americans hostage to score PR points. Making matters worse, they have been under court order to preserve evidence in the MDL and subsequently Juul since 2007. We've gotten no indication that they've complied with that order. So basically the government is lying in order to make themselves look better. Does that ever happen? Yeah, all the time. That's like their big thing for PR. They lie to make themselves look good. It's like that UN photo. You see that photo from the UN? It was a Syrian boy crossing the desert alone. It's a sad picture. It makes you a little bit choked up to think of him separated from his family. But it turns out it's all a lie because he's not separated from his family, or from people anyway. He's with a group of people who are walking. And the photo is zoomed in on some UN workers talking to him. It makes the UN look good, essentially. But they are also holding up the little Syrian boy, so that's all well and good. So, yeah. UN lies, US government lies. Who doesn't lie? Nobody. But anyway, augmented reality could help amputees with phantom limb pain, according to The Verge. An augmented reality racing game has given a 72-year-old amputee relief from the phantom limb pain for the first time since 1965, Wired UK reports. The man was prone to waking up in the middle of the night with terrible pain due to the dissonance caused by his brain trying to control a limb that was no longer there. Feeling as if his lost fist were constantly clenched tightly, but after 6 weeks of therapy with augmented reality, he now feels as if his phantom hand is relaxed and opened. The method is similar to mirror therapy, in which patients look at a reflection of an existing limb in order to trick the brain into thinking it is moving the lost limb, but uses augmented reality to project an image of the lost limb over the stump. Researcher Max Ortiz Catalan placed electrodes on the man's stump so he could control his phantom limb on a screen, then developed a racing game which allowed the patient to develop a more nuanced movement. Past attempts to use video games to alleviate phantom limb pain have relied on motion tracking and virtual reality. The experiment was such a relief to the patient that rather than ending the treatment in order to find out whether the pain would come back, Catalan decided to set up a home electrode system for his subject. He plans to continue working with the therapy, perhaps to expand it to patients with spinal injuries or locked-in syndrome. So that's all well and good. They're helping a guy with video games and augmented reality. So augmented reality, it projects a 3D image into the real world so that you think that there's something there when there actually isn't. I just tweeted out a picture on Twitter, actually, the last picture I ever tweeted on Twitter a few days ago, which is about a marker I was holding up not a marker as in like you write with, but a piece of paper that acts as a marker. And this app called Augment scanned it, and it projected a 3D model of Link from Ocarina of Time onto it, the Zelda games. And it looked like I was holding him on this piece of paper. And that's what augmented reality is. It uses a marker and projects an image onto it. So it looks like it's there, but it actually isn't. It requires an array of cameras, or a camera, and a 3D rendering technology. The technology capable of rendering in 3D. It's cool stuff, and it really is neat to see this helping people with disabilities, like lost limbs. It's good to see. Absolutely. So we've talked about quite a lot today. We talked about Boeing's new black phone, which we'll never know about. We talked about senators who want to ban Bitcoin, which is ridiculous anyway. I mean, what's the deal with that senator wanting to ban Bitcoin? You gotta know he's working for the banks or the Federal Reserve or what have you. There's no way he sits there and he sees this as a good thing. You know, he sits there and he says, well, Bitcoin is obviously a real danger. I mean, who in the world would think that unless they've been brainwashed? Bitcoin is not a real danger. It's something to be cautious with, yeah, just like regular money. It's something you shouldn't throw around willy-nilly, just like real money. But it's nothing more than that. Senators just don't know what they're doing, man. I mean, look at John McCain. He didn't know what he was doing with Syria. That was scary, actually. That was really scary. When it came right down to it, that was terrifying. We almost invaded a country just because this guy said we needed to. We needed to deliver democracy to them. Ridiculous. Time to deliver up some democracy. It's just like, just recently, John Kerry said that Venezuela is not acting like a democracy. Uh-oh. So Venezuela may turn into Vietnam 2.0, which, of course, John Kerry knows all about. Vietnam, him being a veteran and everything. But anyway, that just about does it for Generation Z here today. And tomorrow, what is today? Tomorrow's Thursday, so tomorrow is Friday. The start of the weekend. Oh boy, I can hardly wait. I got a lot to do on the weekend. It's going to be fun. But yeah, don't forget to listen to Nuganomics.com with David Toulis, which is coming up at 1 o'clock, where he talks about local economy from a free market perspective. I imagine right now he's racing to the scene of the station. He's trying to get here on time. He's always a punctual guy. He's never late. Never in my entire experience of being at the station has he ever been late. So you can always count on him to be here when you need him. That's David Toulis of Nuganomics.com. He manages to take all these papers and make them interesting. He takes all these papers of all these different stories, and somehow he manages to glue them together into a coherent show that just works. It sounds good. So listen to him at 1 o'clock every weekday here on Copperhead 1240, the man radio station, WSDT 1240, here in Sunny Daisy. And don't forget to email the show, generationz1240@gmail.com, and at generationz on 1240 on Twitter. See you later. See you tomorrow. Knew that was going to happen.